Hello, and welcome to another episode of Just Talk with Joe Meyer, the vlog edition. Thank you for being here with me once again as we kick off another new episode. It's been a couple weeks that I've spoken to all of you out there, and just wanted to give you an update on what's going on in the life of Joe Meyer. And there's been some successes, some failures, some things in my life that I'm struggling with like anyone else struggles. But hopefully each of you out there are doing well. And first thing I want to start off with is that we have to be careful, right? We have to be careful with the voices that affect us in our mind that tell us we're worthless, we're no good, we'll never amount to anything. And that's something that I was told growing up at a young age, from the age of 5 until adulthood, by a so-called grandfather, right, who's passed on, probably in hell right now, right? Horrible human being, right? But for myself, I still think of those words in times of hardship and struggles. As many of you are aware, I was laid off back in March. Did get an opportunity and did get offers as early as, I would say, April, and started a position in May that lasted all the way into early July. Something I think about every day. It's hard to it's hard to let go, I will say that. The two jobs, the two positions, they're both good positions. One of them, I probably would have been going back to the business today and asking if they were interested, but I ruined it. I burned the bridge. And I didn't burn it in a sense where I meant to burn it. I did things that, in a sense where, maybe if you pester them or you turn the employer off about you after they hired you. I was very indecisive about that position, going back and forth, telling the employer, yes, I would take it, no, I was going to take it, no, I didn't want it. And then finally, when they said, oh, okay, yeah, Joseph, we're ready for you. And then I go, no, never mind, I'm going to go with the other company. And so, it's just, it was a very difficult time trying to choose two opportunities at the same time. Now, many of you out there would be probably elated, yeah, who wouldn't want that? Absolutely, right? And I lost my head. I didn't know how to deal with that situation. I've never had to deal with that, or I haven't had to deal with that in a very, very long time. And it was difficult. So the position that I took, which I still ended up with a job, of course, didn't work out. It was a good job. The income was good. I just didn't have the same rights, in a sense, of a normal employee. I was more of a contractor. Although they treated me my manager and supervisor treated me with kindness and respect, and didn't treat me like a contractor, which was fine. The person that I worked closely with, which is like a project manager, she treated me more like a contractor. I didn't really have much value, right? And she spoke to me in manners that reflected that. I really wanted to stay. I liked the job itself, but I am sorry. I have a very hard time being in workplaces where I'm going to be disrespected, talked down to, treated in a manner that we as people don't deserve to be treated like that, right? Now, I know many of you out there would probably say, well, Joseph, why didn't you just stick it out? You could have just dealt with it. You didn't have to quit. And those are all the voices in my head that I think about when it comes to, did I make the right choice, right? The real nail in the coffin, so to speak, was when they wanted me to sign a professional improvement plan, or a PIP plan, and I was only there for 5 weeks. I hadn't even had enough time to fully learn the job yet, but the PM, the project manager, was making it a point that that's something that she most likely wanted me to sign, and that would be good for 60 days, and then they'll reevaluate my performance in the 60 days. Now, I've never ever had to be under a PIP plan, ever, under an employer. Never. I'm not a bad employee. I'm a hard worker. I'm learning. I'm willing to learn. I just need time. This kind of behavior coming from the PM was not unknown because previous people before me had problems with her. Okay, and yes, it's a woman. I typically don't have issues with women, especially I've worked with women for most of my career, and I know that seems silly, but for most positions that I've held, I would say most of the people I've worked with were women, and very few men. There are men that don't get along with me. I really don't know why. I don't know. But most women I tend to get along with. This one I didn't get along with for some reason. She didn't like me. And I saw the writing on the wall. And I said, you know what, I don't want to take it. Me signing that document was what would have allowed me to keep my job. Now, some of you out there would have signed it, and no problem. After I didn't sign it, typically I forfeited my job. There was no talk about trying to make it work. And that was it. It was done. I try not to think about it. I try not to let it bother me. There's other opportunities that are on the horizon, and I'll give you good news is that, yeah, I did get another job, right? That's supposed to start September 5th or 4th. And it's a company that I've been applying for about 7 years now. It's a good company. It's a large company. It's similar to what I was doing in my last job previously before the layoff, but it's a different industry. And I'm also, not that titles have a big significance, but I'm a senior implementation specialist instead of I was an implementation consultant 1. So yeah, there's a slight title change, right? I know I don't try to get too wrapped up in titles, but titles are important, right? Titles signify advancement, knowledge advancement, and I think they're important. I am applying, and I was interviewing for another position that was a manager of implementations for a bank. This one is not in a bank. This is actually working in human capital management, which is like HR, payroll, things of that nature. The other company was an actual bank. Both very different positions. The bank is very similar to what I did at my last job. This is a different industry. The reason why I felt like this position, the one that's going to start in September, was a good fit for me is because it would allow me to open doors for those industries, but also expand my knowledge in different fields. One of the things that I know as somebody in a career, is that we always have to be open to new industries. That's going to be important, right? It's not just about staying in the same industry, and although that's okay, I'm actually looking forward to learning something in a new industry that will open doors and just for me in the future. Right now, knock on wood, I always say I look forward to being in this company for years and years and years and even decades if possible. Never haven't gotten the chance yet. Most companies that I start with, I'm there for about maybe 3 years tops, and then the company lays me off. I'm hoping this doesn't happen in the case of this new company, right? Um, I always look forward to, and I'm very enviable of those individuals who stay with companies 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. My my director that I'll be under, she's been with the company I think over 30 years. That's incredible, right? That's incredible. But you know, who knows what's gonna happen? I don't have any way to tell the future, right? The only difference between this position that I took on that starts in September and the other position is this one's a hybrid. Um, so I'll be in the office a few days a week. The other one's pure remote. Very different roles in a sense, but the other role, and then there was another that I was interviewing with, which I liked also, but the pay was much lower, was also fully remote. So there's a combination of different things I have to think about here. I have to obviously think about the pay, the opportunity, my managers, my supervisors, the people I'm going to work for, if I'm going to like them. I truly believe one of the reasons I was so indecisive earlier this year in those two jobs was because God was trying to warn me. God was trying to tell me to choose the other job, but I was so stuck on this company that I wanted to work for. I took the company I've been wanting to work for years, and God gave me the choice to work for that company. So I don't blame God. I don't say, well, God shouldn't have given me that opportunity. No, God gave me the choice, and I chose. Now, I don't want to say I chose wrong. Maybe God wanted me to stay at that company and just stick it out, and I know he would have been there, and I buckled under pressure. I failed because maybe that's what God says. You know, Joseph, you should have just stayed there, and I would have been there with you. You know, most jobs I tend to stay there even in hardships, but this was different for some reason. It really was. It was very different because I've never experienced this. Most jobs, when I struggle because I don't know something, but the people who are training me support me and are working with me and tell me, okay, well, we'll give you a little more time, and they're very supportive. This place didn't seem like that. Didn't seem very supportive. And that really bothered me. Now, it was primarily the person I was working under, the project manager. Everyone else around her or them, they were great. These were super intelligent people I was working with. I mean, they were engineers, environmentalists, other people that do what I do. Very nice people. It's painful to think about it, and I know I have to let it go. The reason I say this for all of you out there, there's going to be times and opportunities, and I say this especially to my daughter one day, that you are going to make a choice. And you're going to make a choice that you come to find out may have been the wrong choice. But that's not your fault, because you were only doing what you thought was best, right? There's a way to recover. Nothing is permanent. Oftentimes when we go through these situations, we think that's permanent. Like, I'm never going to get another job. Everything's going to be horrible. I'm never going to be happy. And those are all the thoughts that go through my head. I'm sorry to say, I'm very negative. I'm a negative person. The thoughts constantly go through my head of negativity. Things that I know most people don't want to hear about. As of late, I've thought about horrible things about self-harm, ending things. And I only say that because I know most people don't want me talking about that, because they're like, oh, Joseph, don't talk about those things. You shouldn't be like that. And these are just thoughts that I feel, because I struggle at times. Now, some would say just why don't you go see a therapist or go get medication? And in the past, I have taken those options, and they have helped. But I have found ways to cope. The ways I cope do a few different things. One is writing helps me cope. Putting my thoughts out there on paper, on my blog, talking to you guys helps me. It's like my therapy. The other one is that helps me is just making sure having stability again in my life. Having a job, money, insurance. Feeling like I'm valuable in an organization. Feeling like I matter. Now I know we have our families, our loved ones, and that should be enough for us, and they are. But we also want, at our jobs, we want to feel like we have a value. That we don't like to go to our jobs every day and feel like we're nobody, we're nothing. It doesn't matter what job it is. It doesn't matter if you work for Mickey D's, if you work in a big corporation, if you work, wherever you work. We want to feel valued. We want to feel like we matter, Part of the problem in today's society, folks, is that we fail people. We fail to care for those around us, for our coworkers, our managers, for people to care for us, to show we matter. Instead, we're stomped on. We're treated like garbage. We're told we're worthless. We're nothing. We're valueless, And then we wonder why people go out there into the world and do crazy things. Why people go to their employers and shoot up the place and kill people. And I know I'm not saying that's right, or I'm not justifying that behavior, because that's wrong. No one should ever have to do that or do that ever. But some people feel pushed. And I know the answer is like, well, just quit. Why don't they just quit their jobs and go somewhere else? It's not that easy. Quitting a job is not easy. It's people's livelihoods. It's people identify with their jobs. Oftentimes it's not the job, it's the people that make that job so horrible. The tasks of our daily life, the things we do, we like it. But it's really the people that make it hard. The people that are unwilling to work with us, unwilling to give us time and patience, even a word of kindness. That really goes a long way, right? I've always tried to show people kindness in all walks of life. I think if many of you were ever to see me in my life from a young age until today, you would probably see that in most cases I try to be very kind to people, respectful. I don't have that attitude of just trying to step on people, and because you know what, karma exists. When you step on people, you hurt people, it comes back to you later, right? Whatever interaction I come across in this life, I try to show respect. Interesting enough, I was yesterday or last night, I was going through some old emails from an old account, like email account, back from the early 2000s, right? And obviously that was a different time in my life. I was probably in my early 20s. And I would, obviously the websites, many of the websites that exist today for finding jobs weren't around today, back then, but Monster was. And I remember where I would communicate with a lot of recruiters from Monster, or different recruiters who were interested in me as an employee. And I would, obviously all my history's there. I'll respond to them and tell them I'm interested. I would have my cover letter in there. And it would be like I was going back in time. A lot of what I had back then hasn't changed a whole lot since today. My same tone of voice, my same try to be pleasantness was always there, because that softness of part of me is still here. I'm a big softie. I have a soft heart for people. But I also, it can be considered a weakness today because people will stomp on that. And people have. And it makes me feel bad. And I'm very sensitive to how people treat me. Some people don't let those feelings bother them, but it bothers me. Even today. I think a lot. The wheels in my mind continuously move. Thinking of my failures, thinking of what I could do better, thinking of how I could be a better person, how I could work harder, how I could support my family better, how I could make more money. I mean, there's all these different thoughts that go in my head, right? Every day. I go to sleep and I'm thinking. Kind of a sickness in a way. Because I never can turn my brain off. Overanalyzing things. Overanalyzing what people say to me. What do I say to people? My failures I've done in my life. My regrets. I have a lot of regrets in this life. Things I failed at. Things that I could have probably done a lot differently early in life that would have maybe made me more successful today. But in all honesty, I was like many people. I was out there alone before I met my family. No one was there to guide me and teach me. No one was there to say, "Hey, Joseph, no, you shouldn't really do that," or you should study this, or you should maybe work on thinking of working in jobs like this or doing this, and then I would have had maybe more prosperity by now. Because there are people my age that they're very successful. But you know what's interesting about those people, because I've studied some of them, is that they're no different than you and I. Some of them don't even have the education or background I do. But they are very successful. You know why? Because they had focus. They had people in their life to support them, to guide them. I hope and I pray that I'm going to be that person for my daughter, to guide her, to help her prevent the mistakes that I made. But this is where it gets a little dark. Yeah, I do think about suicide. I think about ending it all. I think about that my life or their lives would be better without me. I know people don't want to hear that. It scares people because they're like, "Oh, don't talk about that, Joseph. Don't say those things. That's not right." But those are the thoughts in my mind. I say it because I don't want to hold it in, right? I don't want to hold it in. Because why should we hold it in, right? Why should we? But you have to do it with people who understand you, who love you, who are willing to understand what you're going through. Like my wife. Obviously, I don't tell these things to my daughter because she's not going to understand it. And obviously, it's going to freak her out, right? But I hope one day when she gets older, she knows that I'm a person, that I'm in pain at times. I suffer. I try to do my best. But the pressure on me is overwhelming sometimes. It really is. And I don't know how to deal with it. I haven't turned to drinking or drugs, thank goodness, and I don't think I ever will, because that's not the answer either. There's a lot of people who turn to drugs and drinking to soothe themselves, to forget about their pains. But I don't think that's an option for me, and I don't want it to be an option because I don't need to be like that around my daughter and my family. The other thing is that, yeah, I'm a believer in Jesus. I believe in God. I have to make him my strength. I have to be true to my beliefs. Now, I'm still human. I still think about those people who are Christians who have ended their lives, unfortunately. And my belief is they're in heaven. Okay, you know, there are people out there, which my wife is like this, which I love her. It's her thoughts, her opinion, that, you know, when you're a Christian, you do something like that, you go to hell. I don't believe that. That's just my belief. That's her belief. My belief is that um, you believe in Jesus, He saves you. Yes, when you do something like that, it is a sin because you're taking something that God has given you. But at the same time, our God has grace and mercy on our life and love, and you cannot lose your salvation once you give your heart to Jesus. You cannot. You know? And He's an all-forgiving God. He forgives you. The moment you give your heart to Jesus, He forgives you for everything you've ever done. He forgives you every single day that you fail and I fail and we sin. He is a forgiving God. So I don't believe if I was ever to end my life, God will just say, oh, sorry, you know what? I know I said that about salvation and, you know, that I would take you in my kingdom, but, you know, never mind. No, God's not like that. I know some of us don't want to think about that because you're like, most people don't think about this, you know? But I'm only human. I struggle. There's not anything that people can do for me. There's nothing my child, my wife, my father, my physical father I'm talking about. There's nothing they can do for me to make me not feel this way. It's part of me. It's a sad part of me that I cannot just let it go. I don't know what it is. I jokingly say that maybe I'm just cursed. Maybe there's something attached to me that makes me feel these things. I do believe in the paranormal, right? I believe that maybe in our family history there is something dark that makes us feel this way, especially when I used to live in my father's house. There was a dark entity there. There was a dark spirit in that house that in 2007 caused me to take my life or try to attempt to take my life. I kid you not. It's no joke. There are things in this world we don't see that will attempt to do that. And, you know, if you ever watched shows like The Dead Files, um, which, you know, I love that show, right? And when Amy was on there, she's not on there anymore, Amy Allen, she would talk about how she sees certain entity spirits who their job is to take the lives of the living because that's what they're trying to do, so they can actually take your spirit and hold it hostage, right? And they will do that. They will hold it hostage. And that spirit can't leave. They can't go into the light. And that's pretty scary because when I was in my dad's house, I only imagine that what if I had succeeded and taken my life? My spirit probably would have been there right now, stuck in some type of, well, I know definitely I would have probably gone to hell back then because it's not that I didn't believe in Jesus. I didn't give my heart to Jesus until 2009 or 8. So I most likely would have gone to hell back then. But I know God is in my life. He's been there throughout my life, even throughout my family's life. He has protected us. And I think a lot of that had to do with my grandparents who believed in Jesus, who were Christians, who I hope to see one day. I know in my heart, at least I hope, that I will see my Grandma Joan, I will see my Grandpa Moses, Grandma Isabel, see my aunts. I don't know who else we're going to see, right? I know it's me being me. I hope I never see that son of a bitch, Raul, who's the person who tortured my life all my life. But that's not up to me. That's up to God, right? I assume he's in hell, but who knows? Pastors always say when go through messages like, we're going to be very surprised when we go to heaven of who we're going to see there, not see there, right? We're going to see people there that we don't expect, we were never expecting to see, right? And we're going to see people, we're going to not see people there like, oh, wait, I was hoping to see this person. I know they're a Christian, but maybe they weren't. People that we think today that believe in God and preach the word of God and say, I love God, they may not even be in heaven because they're not true believers. And those who we think that were sinners, who are horrible people, they could have given their life to Jesus on this last day of breath. And Jesus will say, I take you. You are mine now, in a good way. Just like the thief on the cross, right? If it was up to some people, that thief would not go to heaven. People say, no, he's not deserving. Well, that's not up to us. That's up to God. He is the one who tells who's redeemable, he'll take to heaven, right? No matter how bad a person is, a murderer, a killer, a sinner, to him, they're all the same, sinners wise. He'll take them if you give your life to him. If you give he'll take you up to heaven with him. That's how loving our God is, right? So that's why I'm not too worried. But in a way, if I ever was to take part in ending it all, I would wonder where my spirit would go in a sense at first. Maybe it wouldn't go directly to heaven. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'd stay behind and be a ghostly spirit and watch over my wife and family to see if they're okay. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's an unnatural, interest in wanting to know what goes on behind, things we can't see. Are there spirits that walk around us? I believe there is. I know there is. Is there a spiritual world? Of course there is. Is there spirits that we just can't see that are walking or maybe right in front of us? But yeah. Do I want to be one of those? I don't know. Again, I know, weird thoughts today, so. But hopefully everything's moving forward with my life. Just want to let you guys know what's going on, give you an update. Wishing all of you a blessed weekend. You know what? Just like I'm going to do, I haven't done this in a while, but let me read today's devotional. Already in August, right? August 12th. Oh, speaking of August, so being that my ebook The Pox is available through major retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I'm also having the print version, the paperback, come out August 30th. So that's going to be available. So it's called Honoring God. Then Judah came near Joseph and said, "Oh, my Lord, please let the servants speak a word in the Lord's hearing, and do not let your anger burn against your servant, for you are even like Pharaoh." Genesis 44:18. Submitting to earthly authorities is only one step removed from submitting to God himself. At our jobs, we are to work for our employers as if we're working for God. Colossians 3:23. And when we submit to civil authorities, it's like we're submitting to God, since he established their authorities. Romans 13:1-5. One of the things that Joseph's brothers did right was submitting to Joseph as if he was the Pharaoh. Submission is a hard thing to do, at least with reverence and honor. Joseph's brother Judah slowly sensed that God was doing something unexpected in their relationship with Joseph. Because of this, Judah bowed in honor before Joseph in recognition of the authority of Joseph's position. He humbled himself before the one who ultimately could save Jacob's life. There's a lesson here for us. Humility and honor for authority figures is always appropriate, since God is at work in our life through them. Agreement is not the immediate point, honor is. And I know that's difficult. Honoring our employers, honoring our boss, honoring our coworkers, honoring the people with authority, right? Because we're in today's society, we're anti-authority, right? Anti-police, anti-government, anti-this. And I get it. Those are all run by men and women. Many are not, you know, ordained by God. They're just people doing their jobs, and they're, you know, and they fail. They're gonna fail. They're humans like all of us, right? So, but we still have to honor authority, right? Well, everyone, thank you for taking the time to be with me here today on another Just Talk with Joe Meyer, the vlog edition. I'll keep you guys up to date on future events and what's going on in my life and the life of work and getting ready to get back into the workforce once again. Bless you, everyone, and have a blessed weekend. And I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you.